What is up, my friends? You're very welcome along to tonight's video. It isn't really going to be a news video tonight. It is going to be more of an opinion piece because the last 24 hours or so have been difficult as Liverpool fans. Obviously, losing to the old enemy is never a good thing. But for me, it's been more about the manner in which we lost. And that's the thing that I'm going to really touch on in this video. So, as always, appreciate your support. Do drop a like on the video. Hit that subscribe button. And I would say, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. But for the last 24 hours, I've got to be honest and say I haven't really been reading comments because, as you can imagine, there's been a lot of anger aimed everywhere. I'm not just saying at me, but aimed everywhere. And I guess that's understandable when you get a poor performance and a poor result like that. So, look, let's get stuck into it and speak about what happened, what needs to happen, and what will happen. So let's look at the game as a singular thing first of all last night. Going to Old Trafford at a time where there's upheaval at United, at a time where they've had a worse start to the season than we had, and the fact that we had drawn our opening two games and looked a bit flat-footed. Fair to say we were expecting a response last night. And you know what? To give full credit to this group of players, over the years, we've always had that response. We've always had a performance that lets us know that they know things aren't right. But last night, it was the first time, and I said this during my watch-along as well, I've never really felt embarrassed by the team. Yes, you can talk about the 7-2 game and all that kind of stuff. But last night's the first time I really had to question what is going on. Like, yes, you can take it as a singular performance and you can speak about it just being one game that we lost. And that's, there's a point to that as well. But ultimately, this is a situation that needs to be resolved because I feel that for as many brilliant attributes, and Jurgen Klopp has many, many, many of them, he is a once-in-a-generation manager for us, and that point hasn't escaped me. It won't escape me. But it doesn't mean he's infallible. And it doesn't mean that we can't question some of his decisions. For instance, as an example, the substitutions. Last night you can point to the fact that we had a limited bench, and I understand that, and I appreciate that. But why leave it till the 85th minute to bring Costas on when it was very clear that Robbo wasn't having his best game and Trent certainly wasn't on the other side? But the only way that we could really influence that was by bringing Costas onto the left and giving us a more attacking look, because we were struggling to create at times yesterday. You can speak about 70% possession and all that stuff, but the only stats that matter are the scoreboard, really. And ultimately, we didn't put United under enough pressure in their 18-yard box. Then you can ask yourself, how on earth Fabinho stayed on the bench for so long when it was clear that Milner and Henderson just wasn't working? Again, I'm not here to knock anybody individually. I'm just trying to give a bit of perspective on it and speak rationally for once, because after games and during games, I'm at the height of my emotions. I'm an emotional man, and that's how I respond during games. But I've had 24 hours to process this. Klopp needs to change something. Cast your mind back to Carlo Ancelotti after the Champions League final. One of the interviews he gave, he said that Liverpool were predictable and he knew how we were going to set up. Alisson yesterday said a similar thing to Liverpool's website after the game. Teams know how we're going to play. We need to evolve a little bit, and Jurgen Klopp needs to look at other ways of making use of the players that he has for the here and now. We'll move on to the midfield situation in a minute, but he needs to find a way to shake it up a little bit and to be a bit less predictable. Yes, Darwin Núñez will be one of those ways, and it was unfortunate for Klopp that we didn't have Darwin available yesterday because of his petulant red card. Can't change that. That is what it is. But when we hear things like, we have to look from solutions within, that makes us fans feel quite frustrated at times, because nobody likes speaking against the manager. And I understand that maybe the manager is just trying to keep the peace with the owners, or maybe he does feel that way. I don't know. But if it's not a case that Jurgen Klopp looks at the squad and feels completely happy with it, and he does feel like we can add players, then we just need to get the manager to know that if he speaks out, he will have all of our backing, because we're all Team Klopp. The owners do need to put their hand in their pockets here. And there is a situation where people will say, well, look, Liverpool don't move away from their top targets. They have players in mind and they go after them. You can point to Virgil van Dijk as an example of this. Weren't willing to do anything in that in the summer window. We waited till January. Van Dijk became available for 75 million quid. We went and got him. That's grand. That's great. It's great when that happens. But you can't pretend to be shocked when we constantly pick up injuries. Whether you're speaking about ACLs, muscle impact injuries, repetitive strain injuries, whatever they are, we get a lot of them. Now, sometimes we as fans look at the players and we go, this player's injury prone, that player's injury prone. But again, to come back to what I say about nobody being infallible, the training methods and the relentless work rate that's been put on these guys needs to be looked at as well. There's only so many times you can go back to the well, only so many times you can keep digging deep, and only so many times that the manager's words will have an impact. So with that in mind, that's why I think we need to look to strengthen in midfield. That's why I think we need to bring in fresh ideas, we need to bring in fresh legs, and we need to bring in people who will still be inspired by Jurgen Klopp. I'm not saying that the lads have stopped playing from nothing like that, but we need a midfielder now, right now, at least one. This is before we look to next summer when, yes, there's the Jude Bellingham stuff, but we need to look at the here and now. And if you can't get 1 and 2 on your list, surely there's 3 and 4 who can do a job. And I was a bit disappointed when I seen Jamie Carragher come out today or yesterday on Sky. I can't remember exactly when it was. And he kind of said what Klopp said, that if the option was available, we'd do it. There are options available. There are very, very good midfielders available. I don't like Yuri Tielemans as an example. I don't think he'd be a good fit. But nobody knows if Barella is available or not because nobody's put the money down on the table. I understand the Bellingham situation, but are you telling me Bissouma couldn't have done a job in our midfield when Spurs signed him? Or other players like Ruben Neves as an example? We have, in my opinion, older players with experience in midfield, and we've got younger players at the start of their careers. It's the one area of the pitch where I genuinely feel like we're missing that 22 to 27 bracket of players. Curtis Jones, I'm still unsure about whether Curtis Jones will make it or not. And then after that, I don't really see anybody in that bracket in midfield. Tyler Morton's gone on loan. Bjajicic is too young yet, 17 years of age. We can't be expecting him to have the answers. So I'm all for the club looking to the future and to evolve. But Liverpool are a club who've prided themselves over the past 10 years or so of evolving and planning and looking to the future. Well, Nostradamus wasn't needed to let you know that we were going to have midfield issues. I've been saying it since before the season started. Many of you guys have been saying it as well. It's not a shock that some of our midfielders are injury prone or are getting on or can't impact games as much as they can. You can put that down to age, you can put it down to tiredness, you can put it down to, I suppose, just the repetitive words from the manager and the same instructions. You can put it down to a lack of leadership on the pitch at times, which is not something we ever really say. But last night, it's not a great look when James Milner and Virgil van Dijk are having a pop. And look, Milner may have been absolutely right to get up on Virgil and say, get in there and make sure that you block him, close him down. I'm not saying Milner is wrong. But the fact that we started that game with James Milner and Jordan Henderson, they don't get into any other midfield, in my opinion, of a top club around Europe. But we're supposed to believe that they're still good enough to be starting for Liverpool regularly. And they're still good enough to make us challenge for the league title. They just aren't. It's not to say that they haven't been great servants to the club, but their influence is waning. And that's abundantly clear to the rest of us. So yes, Thiago's brilliant, but we also know that he's got around 50 to 60% availability at best usually. And I'm going back on his recent stats over the past 5 years of his career. Then if you look at the creative sparks, well, we only really have Keita, who's not available. He's been training all week, looking great apparently. Shock horror, injury, unavailable. Klopp needs to stop showing so much faith to people that aren't repaying that faith anymore. That's where I'm going with this. Sometimes players are going to put the manager under pressure, and I feel like this is happening. So I'm not pointing the finger anywhere. I'm not pointing the finger at one specific person or one specific thing. But we can't bury our heads in the sand. We need to act. We need to bring in a midfielder, or we're going to have another situation where a year goes by, we're talking about next summer, we're talking about the future. And yes, you can say that we were close last season to 4, but ultimately we came up short for the big 2. And whether that's had a negative impact on the lads, I don't know. Maybe the exerts of last year and how much energy they had to put into fighting on 4 fronts, maybe that's caught up with them. I don't know. I'm not in the dressing room. But I know something isn't right. And I know that we're seeing a lethargic team taking the pitch for the first 3 games of the season. And that's not like this group of players. That's not like Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool. So we need to address it or another year is going to go past. That's all I really wanted to say. I'm not here to rant and rave today. I'm just here to try and put my perspective across and to give you my opinion as a Liverpool fan. That's it. Again, appreciate your time as always, folks. Do drop a like on the video. I would say I'll read the comments, but I'll probably leave it another day or two before I start to do that again. Thank you for your time. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.